Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with the man himself, Oren Klaff, author of the best-selling book, Pitch Anything, which is a book that has changed the landscape of sales and persuasion all over the world. It's been used by everyone from the military to school teachers to Wall Street. It's been used absolutely everywhere, and it is a real honor.
Not only that, I use it myself.
Which is a true test of the quality of the content. Oren, it's great to have you here, mate. What was the impetus for the book? Why Pitch Anything? Why did you write it?
Yeah. Pitch anything. So people write books, and lots of people want, because there's something in them that wants to come out. And you get to a certain age, and I think there starts to be a sense of what am I leaving behind? And I have this stuff inside of me that helps everybody I touch. Let's get it out. So I met the literary agent. She goes, this is a perfect book. So she took me to McGraw-Hill and Simon & Schuster and Penguin. So I walk in the room at McGraw-Hill, and they've got all these senior editors, literally, I mean, cliche, with their glasses perched on the edge of their nose, right? Looking down on you, what makes you an author? Almost like pitching for venture capital, right? You know, I don't have a TV show. I got a little-known radio show. They're not millions of people, and they're looking for platforms. Thinking, why should you get a book? And I said to the most senior editor, it's so nice to meet the assistant here. When is the senior editor coming in? Started fuming, and then people started coming in, and then finally
You beta trapped
them. One of the frame controlled them, and then one of the medium level people goes, wait, he's doing it. Right? I go, what, do you expect me to walk in here and not do it? We're talking about he's doing what's in the book teaser. And then they go, that's it, done. It worked on us. And so they gave me the contract to write a book, and that's something special.
Absolutely.
Today anybody can write a book, put it up on Amazon, self-print it, and on your own printer, ship it out. But when a real publishing, those guys publish 10,000 books a year. When a real publishing house goes, here's a check, write a book. That's something special, and it has turned out to be pretty amazing.
I think what is something that's also important to note, your book has become a bestseller. Like it's regularly in the top 1,000. It's regularly number one book in business across many categories. The best part is you don't buy your own books.
I don't buy my own books.
And what I mean by that, for people who don't understand, like a lot of people that hit the best-selling charts, New York Times best-selling, they're basically buying and warehousing their own books and giving them away through a range of different promotions. Your bestseller status has come through nothing but organic sales channels.
Organic sales.
Yeah.
I'll give you a soundbite to that. When the book hit the street, when it was released, the publisher called me in a panic. Why aren't you doing book signings? Right? Even William Shatner does book signings. Right? Why aren't you in Kansas? And why aren't you in New York? And why aren't you in Wyoming? And why aren't you in Los Angeles and San Diego and Chicago doing book signings? It's called window time. And she goes, all my other authors are doing it. And I said, Kirsten, they should have written a good book. Wouldn't have to do that nonsense.
And this is why I wrote a book. So I didn't have to travel.
Yeah. So I feel vindicated in the end. Today I'm doing my first book signing ever in a couple of years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's incredible. I've written 3 cheat sheets on your book. I've written a 64-page cheat sheet.
Yeah.
I've written a 23-page cheat sheet. I've written a 9-page process
I use
guide.
them. It's good.
Yeah.
Cliff notes. We call it Cliff
Yeah.
notes. Yeah.
And the reason I like your book so much is not only has it made me understand what made me good as a salesperson, but it's also helped me refine the process by actually giving a very logical sequence. But the thing that I love the most is it gives everyone a really clear insight into the primal workings of the brain, and it helps people understand why is it that I'm attracted to this message and why does that message repel me. So how did you get to understand these neurological and neurobiological neurochemical processes that went into this mix? Was it curiosity? Was it a study?
Yeah,
how did you get there?
What I was just trying to do is hire experts who knew how persuasion worked. And so I hired sales guys, private equity, just guys who were successful pitching, and just pay anybody money who I thought knew what they were doing. And then part of this was I hired...
Right, that's the key to success right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just desperate. Yeah.
So this is before you mastered the art of persuasion,
This is before I mastered it, right? Is that, my presentations, I told you before, on some days they work and other days they didn't. And like, why? Why am I... why does this special suit that I'm wearing fly and stop bullets on Tuesdays, but on Thursdays I can't fly, can't run fast, and bullets, come through the suit and kill me? I don't understand why I do the same thing to the same audience, or same type of audience, on one day and it works, another day it didn't. So I hired this cognitive psychologist, and he goes, it's just because you're all up here, you don't understand how the brain works. Once you understand, I go, I understand psychology. He goes, no, you don't really understand the physiology of the brain and how information gets into it, where it goes next, where it's processed, and how it gets out. And once you start to understand that, you start to understand the physiology of the brain and how it processes information. Now you got a big advantage.
What's the biggest mistake that you see people make when it comes to the, whether we call it the pitch, the sell, the deal making, or the art of persuasion? What's the biggest mistake you see people make?
Here, and I think this is new and evolved thinking, and it's all in the same theme, but when people come in and they say, this is what we have, these are the features, this is why we're unique, and this is what we're going to show you today, it immediately gets people, the audience or the buyer, thinking, how much is it? And they're trying to guess how much it is. And once they know the features and how much it is, they're done. Because now they want to go see where they can get the same thing. They want some price. And the internet is so easy. Like before the internet, you'd say, okay, I got to sit through this rest of the presentation to gather more information. But now, once I know the features, once I know the price, I now want to see what this costs somewhere else. So that's a mistake, and people start off why we're unique, what the features are. The other, people start at
Can I
different
talk
ways.
to that for a second?
Yeah.
Because and that's what you refer to as the intrigue frame, right? The importance of maintaining intrigue. And you articulate really well at a chemical level. It's a combination of norepinephrine and dopamine, which is that cliffhanger experience where people are they're really on edge and they've got hypervigilance from an attention perspective because they're waiting to know what happens next. And so what you're saying is too often we give too much too soon so that there's no intrigue and people then check out and go and look for a better price somewhere else.
Yes. And there's another way to think about it that I think is also evolved thinking is the reason people come to a meeting with you to hear whatever it is you have to say is to satisfy their curiosity. Because if they already know it and they're not curious, they're not going to come to the meeting. So if they're there to satisfy the curiosity and that gets satisfied in their first 5 minutes, why do they need to stay there for another 55 minutes? So that's the problem.
This is why so many TV shows like Lost is a great example. I used to have these cliffhanging endings to the episode. When you taught me the importance of the intrigue frame and I started teaching it to our students and to our clients, I started to realize the power when I started to tell a story about my very first skydiving accident and how I had a massive malfunction at a very low altitude, but I don't finish the end of the story. Like I go through the whole build-up, I get to the point where it's like, does he live, does he die? And then I say, that's what intrigue is.
I'm going to build a new opening for my speeches, which is a fake sob story. It's okay to not have it. It's okay to be grown up in a good household and having been healthy and worked hard and had success. People don't have to empathize with your backstory and your pain. But it's okay to have a base of success.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Scott Harris and said, oh, so you had to wait till you had a catastrophic illness in your life to become intentional and have integrity and be a good person and realize that other people are of value? I sort of not sure, who you are now.
That's great contrast.
Yeah, so I want to come up with this fake sob story.
Right, to prove a point.
Yeah. Have you heard the Monty Python skit where the old guys are sitting around comparing how bad their childhood? Yeah, that was so hard for us. We didn't have any food to eat. All we had was tea. Right? We had to eat tea for dinner. And then the guys, that was hard. Luxury, that. We would have dreamed of having tea.
I do remember it now you talk about it.
And then they get into these extremes of saying, our father used to beat us to death with a belt 20 minutes before we'd have to wake up and work all day at the coal factory. Yeah, that was hard times. Luxury, that. Who would have dreamed of being beat to death with a belt? And so...
Let's go.
You don't have to have this horrible sob story.
And I think that's an important message. But the reason I tell you that story is because I do this cliffhanger because I'm teaching about the three brains and I'm teaching about the importance of intrigue and not giving too much away. But I never finished. This is the funny part. I never finished the story. And days, weeks, months later, I'm still getting people messaging me on social media. I'm still getting emails to our support saying, can we please find out what happened? What was the end of the story?
Right.
And I think that's a really important take-home message for a lot of people is, when you can build the sort of intrigue around your product or your service, where days and weeks and months later, they're still ringing you up because they want to know more. Like that's a powerful conduit.
Yeah. So we talked about the problems people have. That is, that's one of the number one things is starting with information. And the cure we talked about yesterday, which is starting with an idea. It is so sophisticated and you almost never see it. That somebody to start a business presentation and talk about an idea. You gain so much trust and respect from an audience if you can talk as a business person about some important things for a few minutes that aren't you.
Yeah.
And it gains a lot of trust. So that's some of the fix. So that's the bad and the good.
Nice. So just for the people who haven't read your book, which is probably the minority of people watching this right now in my community anyway, your method is the strong method. So do you want to walk people through the strong method really quickly?
Sure. So strong is set the frame.
And what does that mean?
So what happens is when somebody comes to a negotiation with you, they see you and their world through a certain frame, a lens, a window, right? And you see yourself and your product and them through a certain frame and window, and they're different. And until those frames combine and overlap, and it's the same window with the same perspective and the same story and the same interest and value, no deal can be done. So setting the frame is helping somebody see the world the way you see it.
Yeah.
Why you're valuable, why this price is fair, how the competition stacks up, why you're a good person. So you have to frame those things, otherwise they'll see them in ways that you can't control.
And when you have two opposing frames that come together, you call that a frame collision.
A frame collision,
yeah.
Right. So frames come together, and just as we wrote in the book, the strongest frame will win, and that will be the dominant perspective. So if the buyer believes that your product is a commodity and he can get it anywhere, and that's the strongest perspective, that will be the dominant frame. And if he owns the frame, he will force you to see your own product as a commodity if he has the stronger frame, and that's no good.
And that's no good, and that's where pricing is really important. And pricing is the concept that you teach people is, at the end of the day, the only thing that's a commodity in the negotiation is the money and the customer, because there's plenty of money around.
Plenty of money.
There's plenty of customers around, but there's only one of us.
Right.
And I think that's a really important concept for people to grasp, because if they see the customer as the prize, they're gonna be needy potentially. They're gonna seek the validation, in which you've got the antidote for. But when they start to see themselves as the prize, they start to actually hold a little bit more higher posture. They don't put up with as much shit and that kind of thing. Would you?
Yeah, I completely agree. We'd say that the easiest way to get into pricing is to just take thank you, sorry, and please out of your vocabulary. Now I understand there's times to say sorry. You make a mistake, you hurt somebody, but we saying sorry far too often. We're saying thank you for a meeting. The buyer should be thanking. You're preparing for the meeting. You're showing them something they didn't know. You're teaching them about pricing. You're showing a use case and some applications. They should be saying thank you to you, right? All they have is money. You have all this knowledge and things that can change your business. They should be thanking you. You should be thanking them. And so another way...
And this isn't about being ungrateful, right? This isn't about showing appreciation, but this is about understanding that when you do those things, the psychological impact on the other person is significant to the point where it can kill your deal.
Well, you're lowering your status,
yeah,
right? And you're raising their status.
Yeah.
When people have high status and they believe they have high status, you're treating them that way, so they do, and they believe you have low status.
Yeah.
They're going to lord over you, and they're going to reverse prize you. They're going to tell you to do things. They're going to ask things from you that you don't want to do. It is a
they're going to beta position you. They're going to put you in the beta, and once you're in the beta,
they're going to suck all the information from you, give you nothing, and then tell you, "Hey, we'll think about it," and you go away, and your time will largely have been wasted, and you have no control. So you want your status to be equal or higher to the buyer, so you have control.
Pricing. So strong, S, set the frame.
T, tell the story. So information is something people can look up. So if you go and you give people information about what you have, you're giving them something they either probably already have or can guess at or has low value. because today people know they can get everything they need off the internet. So when you tell a story, it's a narrative, right? It satisfies their curiosity. Think about it like this: people
Satisfies or builds?
so build intrigue,
Build intrigue.
Right.
Right. Okay.
and people are coming to have their curiosity satisfied.
Right.
So they can't leave the meeting still going, I don't know what's going on. I'm still extremely
Great
100%
distinction.
curious.
Yeah.
Because that's confusion.
Yeah.
Right? So what you want to do, the narrative, it satisfies their curiosity in a human story, in human time frames, in human relationships, in human information streams. And their satisfaction comes over time. Think about a brownie, or a cupcake, right? Chocolate cupcake is delicious. But if I sit here and describe to you everything that's in it, how it was made, what its chemical components are, it loses its
Social value.
It loses its value. It's not nice to have just pure information without the experience.
Yeah.
Tell the story is the narrative experience of the So
It's painting the picture.
It's painting the picture, and it's putting it in human, out of facts and figures, and it puts in human relationships. If we have ball bearings, telling a story is about how tractors are no longer failing, out in the field, risking farmers' lives hundreds of miles from home or whatever it is, and the story of one failed tractor didn't have to, when somebody lost their life, and how this product will make sure that never happens again in human history. Those are stories in human terms, and so those narratives, so they satisfy curiosity in human dramas over time, and it's very fulfilling. If you go to Star Wars, right, and they just go, hey, look, here's what happened. Luke got mad, he got a lightsaber, he went and found this guy, fought him, spoiler alert, turned out to be his dad, they fought to the death, and then he returned to base. You go, okay, but what makes it satisfying is this 2-hour unfolding of that story. And so how do I do that with a product? And that's, we've got to come and spend some time with Kerwin to figure out how to do it, but that's what to do.
Yeah. And also understanding in the context of telling a story, you've got a limited time frame to tell that story before they check out.
Yeah. So that's, getting back to the human brain, 20 minutes, just the chemicals and the function of the brain doesn't allow it to pay attention to static, non-dynamic conversations for more than 20 minutes, right? Because it's worried about survival, it's worried about hunger and feeding and the next meal and all kinds of things. It can't just do one thing for more than 20 minutes before starting to get extremely distracted and checking out. And if the story's boring, or the whole story is told very quickly, or it's not in a narrative format, or it's just information, that brain checks out very quickly.
Ultra quick. Set the frame. Tell the story.
Reveal the intrigue.
Here we go.
So after you've been talking for some period of time, or somebody knows you and is familiar with you, people start to fade away, right? And the span of human attention gets short. People start thinking about other things. They start to guess. And so at some point, you've got to bring in a new piece of intrigue to get them reconnected.
And intrigue is something that is uninspected.
It's something new, novel, unexpected, re-engages the mind, gets some adrenaline, uses some more energy stores in the brain. And there's hundreds of ways, you have that intrigue story. There's hundreds of ways to re-invoke intrigue, right? But sometime around the 15, 20-minute mark in a presentation, you've got to bring in something intriguing that gets people curious again and piques them and excited about what's going to happen next. You've got to reveal some form of intrigue.
Fantastic. Set the frame, tell the story, reveal the intrigue.
Offer the prize.
Offer the prize.
Offer the prize. So you at some point you have. I think the difference between my presentations is I offer something, features, benefits, about 60 to 70% of the way into the presentation.
Right.
You, the well-meaning public, probably do that in the first 1 minute.
Yeah.
In the first 5%. Say in a 20-minute presentation, I do it at minute 12.
Yeah.
And in somebody else's 20-minute presentation, they do it minute 1.
Right.
Right? So how you offer what you have is very important. So when people give a feature, they immediately tell what the benefit is.
Yeah.
Feature, benefit, feature, benefit, feature, benefit. And that's like watching a tennis match.
Yeah.
It hurts my head and I'm getting dizzy. Feature, benefit, feature, benefit. And that's what's called selling.
Yes.
It takes a professional to go, these are all the features. That's what it is. Here's all the benefits. That's what you'll get. And here's the value. That's how humans understand things. But if you tell somebody a feature and then tell them why that feature is good, they go, hold on, I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
And you're telling me it's good for me, but I don't know what it is. I'd like to draw my own conclusion. And selling is really letting people, framing things tightly and letting people have the autonomy to draw their own conclusion. Now you're selling.
That's a really good distinction. Frame things the way you want them to see them, but give them the autonomy, i.e. don't provide so much detail that their creative mind can't work for itself.
Yes.
That they actually buy out versus buying in. So set the frame, tell the story, offer the prize.
Nail the hook point.
Nail the hook
So
point.
at some point, if you do all this correctly, the buyer will go, I'm in. And he will signal that at the hook point by helping a little bit. And it can be very small. It could be leaning in. It could be saying, so is it possible to get a delivery still in March, right? It's something to indicate that he's in. You have to be very aware, because once we get in these sales grinds, we want to get everything out. You got to look for that hook point where the buyer's in, and then you got to back off. So it's looking for
Not
that.
overselling.
It's not over. It's
Because so
looking
many
for that
people, they'll
signal.
sell, the customer's ready to buy, but then they keep talking.
Yeah.
And then they, again, going from buying in to buying out very quickly.
And so at the moment that somebody's hooked, we want to give them autonomy.
Yeah.
Human beings want autonomy.
Yeah.
If they feel like they're constantly being ratcheted down,
Yeah.
And this is why I hate these questions that make people negotiate against themselves, right? Would you like to make more money and be happier? Right? Like, well, if I say yes, I know I'm negotiating against myself, and it's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
So at the moment that you get the hook point, somebody's leaning in, they go, and they try and help you with the sale, give them autonomy.
Yeah.
And don't leap. So the natural inclination is to leap on that or not notice it. But when they're hooked, give them autonomy. Don't try and get them fired. I do this mistake myself. You've got to be looking for it. Nail the hook point.
One of the things that we use in our process is to nail the hook point is we say to people in the process or in the sales process, what is it that you bring to the table that would make us want to work with you?
Yeah.
Which often people aren't expecting, and it reverses the whole psychology, and it gets them leaning in and starting to
And
convince.
if they start to convince why, you're at the hook point, and you can relax for a while.
Yeah.
Let them take care of their business. Let them try and regain some of the status you've taken away. Let them regain some frame control. So when I say it's important to control, it's not important to dominate.
Yes.
It's not important to abuse. It's not important to own. It's important to guide through a very narrow field to help people understand the value of what you have and why if they buy the competition, it could be a lot worse than working with you.
Yeah.
But once they come to that own conclusion, human beings want autonomy. Don't control them.
Yeah.
Because then you have buyer's remorse, so they scratch your head, what did I do? Let them come to that conclusion on their own and then explain to you why there's a good customer for you. And then you got to close it off at the end. You got to get the deal. That's the G in strong. So you could give buyers autonomy, but if you give them total autonomy, they'll go, well, I want to think about it.
Yeah.
And then you have to get the deal, sort of introduce scarcity and get it closed up.
Just do a quick recap. The strong method. S, set the frame. T, tell the story. R, reveal intrigue. O, offer the prize. And N,
nail the hook point.
And G,
get the deal. So you can get people interested in it, and they want it and everything, but there's got to be some discipline to get money from their account into your account. Right? And getting the deal is
getting the commitment.
It's getting the commitment, and that is being authentic with your scarcity, and it is showing true willingness to walk away. If the buyer believes he can buy whatever it is you have whenever he wants at whatever price, you can get through all those other points, but you won't get the deal.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be willing to walk away. Now you're going to lose some deals by walking away. It happens to me all the time. That hurt. I could have got that one if I worked it some more.
Yeah.
But you will get far more by telling people you cannot have this on these terms, in this way, from me, beyond such and such time. Yeah. Real scarcity. More people will fall in and go, okay, it's a deal, let's do it. Then we'll walk away. But some will walk away. And this is maybe the most important point that we're making here. They're all important, but you have to have the ability to lose some deals. If you don't, then you're just going to go right back into chasing mode, and it's all the bad things are going to start. You have to be willing to say, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah. If
we don't do it in this way, it's not going to happen. And have a buyer walk away, and you go, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because many, many, many more will respect your time, your product, your process. And so why would I ever walk away? Because what is the time frame that you will spend to acquire a customer? 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 15 months? At some point, you lose money by spending so much time in that customer acquisition process. So what I would say is, for me, 60 days. If they haven't signed, I'm out.
You're ready to walk away.
I'm walking away. Because it's 90 days is too long.
Because I know this sounds strange, but compromise in some cases, and it's really important that people distinguish what we're talking about here. Compromise can appear to be a validation, can come across as a validation strategy, and that's where I'd ask you the question: like, what is the number one thing that kills most deals?
Yeah, the number one thing that kills deals is neediness. So at that point, when the buyer goes, "Well, I'm not sure," right? And then you go, "Well, what would make it work?" That is neediness.
What if I painted black for you? What if I painted in blue for you?
That now you went from attracting to chasing. There's no buyers don't sit in an idle state. You're either chasing them or they're attracted to you. They're never just neutral.
Yeah.
And so the second you go, what if I did this? Would that work for you? Right? Then you're chasing them. And
as the primal brain tells us, that which chases us is a threat, and we run away from threat.
Yes.
That which runs away is an opportunity that we move towards.
Yes. People chase that which moves away from them.
Yes.
So if you've done all that work and you go, I'm leaving, this doesn't work for me, they go, okay, it's fine. No problem. But you have to be willing to let it. If you can't ever imagine a deal walking away, this will not work for you.
Real quick, I know we've got to wrap it up. 3 steps to eradicating neediness.
3 steps to eradicating neediness. Let's see. So number 1, we just talked about. A definitive willingness to walk away.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, we talked about as well, getting rid of thank you, please, and sorry in our vocabulary. And number 3 is believing in our own mind that the buyer can make us happy by deciding to buy what we have. Disconnecting our own happiness from the buyers choosing us. That's 3 ways to eradicate neediness.
That's fantastic. Oren, mate, it's a real pleasure. Always great to see you. Great to spend time. For more information, check out pitchanything.com.
Pitchanything.com.
But whatever you do, you must go right now and buy yourself a copy of the Pitch Anything book if you don't own it. And also download the audio of Pitch Anything and listen to it. To give you some context, I've listened to the audio, I swear to God, at least 15 times. And I've read the book at least 8 to 10 times. It is the most underlined. I've taken that book apart. It is falling apart. That's why I just love your content so much. So thanks for coming in today, mate.